Find me somebody to love, find me somebody to love. Can anybody find me someone to love? Oh, a video for Warbles. What up, Warbles? And Warbles, right before we crack this Old English 800 brand malt liquor, I love you, man. I really do. I love you, Warbles. Malt liquor. Oh, it's gonna taste like freedom. I love very few people. Mostly I just kind of figured they could tell. Sometimes people think that because I'm kind of, oddly enough, if you knew me in real life, I'm kind of a reserved person. I'm kind of quiet. But sometimes somebody like Warbles, like you, reads me some poetry, and I'm like, that's a great story. And then we're talking about your poetry as we're walking to your car, and I'm like, what's this on top of your car? And you're like, it's a sunfoil. And I'm like, tell me about the sunfoil. And then you're explaining your sunfoil properties, and he's like, yeah, so when I drive in from town, I live in a little tin shed out on a plot of land surrounded by all sorts of wildlife. I'm like, you live in a little tin shed out in the middle of nowhere? And I'm just like, it gets like, it grows and grows and grows into me, like, where I'm like, I am all about you. You're so awesome. Now this is really, really rare. I mean, because so many people, there's so few people like you, Warbles, that when I do it, I tend to freak people right out. They're like, well, what's the next stage? What am I going to do? Is it going to be like, am I going to try to make love to them, or am I going to throw them in my van and drive them out to the forest? You're gonna be living in my cabin from now on, out in the middle of nowhere. But then after a real long time where, I'm not making love to them or kidnapping them, they just realize that they're one of the very few people who I'm just all about. And that's the thing is, I actually feel pride, and I meet somebody like you, Warbles, or like that, somebody that is has such diverse interests and such a way of speaking about what's in their mind that, like, I understand. Like, it's not confusing to me. It feels like the new ideas open up new ideas in my own mind. And like, normally when someone's talking, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they're getting at. And a lot of times when I say a straightforward sentence, they're like, oh, so what did you mean by that? What are you trying to say? And I'm like, I said exactly what I meant. But they're like, but I know what they're talking about. It's because sometimes they say something and what they're saying is not what they mean. And I don't know what they mean. It's so bizarre. Anyway, so I guess that's the whole confusion thing that, like, Earl loving you. What does it mean? What's it going to mean? What's it going to mean now that I've said it? Now that you know? That's the thing, is like, some people are just like, cool, like they get it, like, like they probably are used to having very little friends or something like that, just a few people that, like, you identify with. And then the other people, like, actually that's kind of makes me laugh, is like, there's this person that I really like, and I don't do things with a lot of other people, and I said, do you want to go camping? And I've only asked a handful of people my entire life to go camping. And so this person's like, oh yeah, I'll go camping with you. And they admitted later that they were, like, a little weirded out by it, because they weren't sure what it was going to be like. And what it was like was, we went up to the forest. I had a couple tents set up. You want to go, bud? I had a couple tents set up. Like, they brought, like, a little teeny tent, and I'm like, well, I've got that nice one that you could use. I've just got some food in it. Like, you could have that tent, and that's my tent. That's where Akila and I sleep. And I'm like, well, there's firewood there, there's food there, there's alcohol there, there's trails through there, the river's right down there. I brought you a chair, and that's my chair there. And go at it. And then I sit down in a chair, crack open a beer, and grab a book and sit down and just like stare at the mountain and have a good time. And that's what I did for 2 days. You know, we'd talk around the fire, and sometimes like I'd go walk Aquila, and my friend would go with us. But that was my idea. I mean, that was my feeling of just like being right there on top of one another, which is like, you know, hours and hours of not speaking and reading books and eating delicious food, and occasionally, you know, can I get you a beer, buddy? Yeah, get me a beer. That's cool. Thanks. That's me loving you. What else did I want to say about love? Yeah, I guess I don't say it. I don't say it very often. So I guess maybe that's where the misunderstanding comes about. I think maybe there'd be even more misunderstanding if I walked around telling everybody I love them, or the very few people I do love, letting them know I love them. I guess I kind of figure that maybe they don't need to know, or they could probably tell. Maybe I don't need to say it. I don't know. That was the thing. I was like, oh, I'm going to make a video just tell Warbles I love him. And it's actually it's pretty easy. It doesn't really change anything. So maybe I should just start going ahead and telling everybody that I love them. Let them work on that. Let them figure that out. You know, I guess, you know, why don't more people tell other people that they love them? Because there might be might misunderstand. But the idea being that would be, you know, up to them to not figure it out. I'm reminded of a Wayne's World scene where one of the characters walks up to one of the other characters and says, "I love you, man," and the other character that he says it to goes, "Thanks." Yes, that's all you need. It's like I'm just letting you know. I guess the idea is there might be expectations like, well, are you going to say you love me too? That's not necessary with like the idea that like I love sunsets. The sunset doesn't need to love me back, you know. I love baby goats playing with baby kitties, and baby goats and baby kitties are not even a part of my life, and I love them. Malt liquor. Alright, there you go, Warbles. Love you, buddy. I was gonna sing a song, but then I didn't want to make it. I didn't want to make this video seem too silly, so you think that I was like trying to like pretend love you. Oh, I think your daughter said to me. She wrote me once saying that, hey, my dad talks to you like you're a real person. I mean, talks about you like you're a real person, like I live down the street or something like that. And I do the same thing. I talk about my friend Warbles, even though my friend Warbles isn't right down the street. It's way down the street. All right, Warbles. See you in the tubes.